All right, this is a question that I'm gonna need some feedback on down in the comment section below, but is it okay to be excited for something like the NERF Elite 2.0 Wild Edition Stormcharge when it's essentially a carbon clone of another blaster there are already millions of out there, let alone of it being a clone of all of these other things, just with really good ergonomics? Yeah, I know, it's a reflex nowadays to see Elite 2.0 and just no, don't want anything to do with that. But as we've seen with things like the Trailblazer or the Moto Blitz, there are Elite 2.0 blasters out there that are actually really good. And the Stormcharge is a worthy successor to the NERF STRYFE. I bought the NERF Elite 2.0 Wild Edition Stormcharge from my local Walmart for $30 US, and it comes with everything you see here. Removable stock, removable muzzle, 10-round magazine, blaster itself, and 20 NERF Elite darts. That's a pretty fair price for an electronic flywheel blaster in the NERF ecosystem. But there really are no hidden surprises right here. Muzzle, stock, magazine, blaster, electronic semi-auto flywheeler with a manual trigger, powered by 4 AA batteries, and it claims to be a 4-in-1 set, deciding on if you want to use the stock, the muzzle, both, or neither. So why would you even take another look at this blaster? After all, Elite 2.0, right? Well, it's a stupidly comfortable Stryfe, at least in my opinion, and that could be the end of the review right there. I don't really know of a time I've gotten a flywheel blaster from NERF that has this level of care put into its ergonomics. I have pretty small hands, and yet the Stryfe grip itself is not the most comfortable thing in the world. It's definitely functional, but it has lots of room for improvement. The Stormcharge grip is fan-freaking-tastic. It fits the contours of my hand flawlessly. There's more than enough meat on it for me to get a proper grip. Unlike the Stryfe, where the bottom part here, you're just kind of resting it on the sling loop right here, this feels a heck of a lot better, and it's a little bit thinner, that just makes it more ergonomic all around. And the front of the blaster has like a curved foregrip right here, which also feels just about as perfect as it can be, even to this lip right here that really seats your hand in there, and it feels fantastic and lets you get a really good grip on your blaster. The same can't be said for this carry handle-ish thing here. It's really tight, I can't even fit my whole hand in there, and it's wide, so it's not exactly the most comfortable thing ever. The blaster does come with an n-strke stock attachment point with this NERF stock already attached. However, it's compatible with pretty much all your other NERF stocks. Nothing really to say about this stock. It's way too short. It really doesn't work all that well. And it's a stock we've gotten from NERF before. In fact, both of these attachments were found on the NERF STRYFE CQ10, which wasn't released in North America, but this same exact setup here. The muzzle, same thing. It doesn't do anything, does look cool, but hey, if you don't have any pre-existing NERF attachments, it's a good way to start. And that's kind of the fun about having attachment points in the blasters, because if you have all these different attachments, you can put different things on different blasters and really get a good feel of what's best for that blaster. The problem is the color schemes rarely ever match. There's a tactical rail right here, which is actually a little bit farther back behind the magazine even, and there are some cool potential attachments like flashlights and stuff that you can put on there. On the other side of the blaster, there's just a jam door right here that you can access, and then the battery tray right here that holds 4 AA batteries. Now, this carry handle also has a rail on the top of it that would work perfectly fine for any scopes or other attachments you may have that fit on a NERF tactical rail. But there's also a peephole sight that goes through the entire top here, starting with the rear slope on the carry handle and to the front where there's a little notch for a sight at the front of the blaster. But I can't even look down it with this stock on it, so safe to say that's practically useless. But one of the best things about the blaster is the magazine release. Both the rev trigger and the firing trigger are exceptionally comfortable, but the mag release is probably the best one NERF has ever done. I would love to have this mag release on every single blaster from now on. This is amazing. Works perfect for one-handed magazine drops, or if you want to grab it with your offhand and swap mags that way. It's awesome. And the blaster does come with one 10-round magazine, which, gonna harp on this again, NERF, every single time you include a magazine with a blaster, you need to include at least 2. What I can mention is that the blaster is basically the same exact size as a Stryfe, except for it's like a little bit shorter, ever so slightly, although that also equates to it being a little bit taller. And you would think that you could just completely remove this carry handle thing, but judging by the placement of these motor mounts right here, the wheels are gonna go slightly into this top of the carry handle, which kinda sucks. And if you're one of those sick people that want to see the attachments on another blaster, or there's the same attachments on the Stryfe, and that actually looks kind of sick. Running the Stormcharge over the chronograph, well, it being powered by 4 AA batteries, there were no surprises here. It's the same Nerf flywheeler you've come to know and loathe. Most shots being in the 60s, yeah, that's what we'd expect. However, it's a flywheeler, and I have it under good authority that you can take this thing apart because Buff Daddy Nerf has already made a cage for it, which means you can up that power to some pretty astounding heights. I don't know if I mentioned this enough, but if you have a flywheel blaster and you want to make it shoot really hard, you should check out bandblasters.com. They sell flywheel cages that are pre-made. You'll just have to solder the wires and stuff like that, but the cage itself is ready to go. That's what, 3 wires, a switch, and a battery connector. It's not much work at all, and those can hit upwards of 200 FPS, so make sure you go to bandblasters.com and let them know that they should be making a cage for the Stormcharge. And of course, accuracy-wise, the Stormcharge is garbage because it's a Nerf flywheeler shooting Nerf Elite darts. You can get a little bit better accuracy if you swap over to using some heavier darts like the Adventure Force waffle darts. But then your range decreases a little bit, you're going to be arcing your shots a lot harder, and, well, it's a stock Nerf flywheeler. I can't really say a whole lot of good things about a stock Nerf flywheeler, but that's kind of where the Stormcharge is. I mean, it's a stock Nerf flywheeler, yeah, but you can mod it, which is a good thing, and the ergonomics are so freaking good. And that leads to the question, is this thing worth $30? Well, if you don't have a Nerf flywheeler and you wanted to get into them, this is a pretty good start. You get the attachments, you get a little bit of play value, you got magazines, you can get more magazines, and it feels fantastic. But the age-old question, does this surpass the NERF STRYFE? If you already have a STRYFE, should you look at getting the Stormcharge? And the answer to that is actually kind of easy, because I know a lot of people over the last couple of years have bought STRYFEs and put lots of money into them to get them to look and feel like this. And if you're somebody who already had plans of doing that, well, the Stormcharge is already built like that, and this isn't 3D printed plastic or anything. This is a very solid, very rigid, really nice pre-done blaster that makes it, in my opinion, maybe the best of all of the STRYFE configurations we've seen from Hasbro. It is true that at the moment you can do pretty much anything you want with a NERF STRYFE, but if this takes off, if more people like the Stormcharge, well, the Stormcharge is going to have a lot of cool things it can do as well. So for stock players, there's a lot to love here. For modders, well, it's a STRYFE. It's really easy to modify, and the ergonomics are freaking on point. But if you don't fall into any of those categories, then yeah, the Stormcharge doesn't have a lot to offer you, especially for $30. Unfortunately, the attachments are just not really worth it, and that sucks because I've bought a lot of Nerf blasters in the past solely based on the attachments, and these ones are both really easy to get because they were both in the modules line on multiple different blasters themselves. But I got a caveat for you. If you see this thing on the shelf at your local Walmart, go ahead and reach into that package and touch that grip just a little bit. I'm sure you wouldn't be the first person, and you'll probably agree, yeah, it might be worth spending the $30 for the Stormcharge because this is about as comfortable as it gets. Anthony, what do you think about that grip and that foregrip with your monster man hands?
It actually feels pretty good.
So do you need to rush out there and buy a Stormcharge for $30? No. But if you're tacitly interested, you should look for it to go on sale sometimes. And it's a Walmart exclusive as far as I know in the US, so it's probably going to go on sale here sometime soon. But if you're just looking for a really comfortable, really nice flywheeler with a lot of mod potential, look no further than the Elite 2.0 Stormcharge.